Warren Buffett once said, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. Work until you die? Well, we're definitely not doing that. And that is why I've created Life of Dividends.
And this is why I'm all in on ULTY. That's right, ULTY. Welcome back to the channel. That's right, this is Life of Dividends. And I know it's been a couple of months since I put together a video to give you an update on my portfolio and how the market is treating me as well as my progress. But let me just share with you what I've been doing over those past couple of months. One, I've just been observing what the market's been doing. I've been listening to other podcasts and Discord groups and kind of just trying to understand these ETF funds on a deeper level. And it wasn't until I would say a couple weeks ago, I read the prospectuses from start to finish for both MSTY or MISTY and ULTY being ULTY. And I gotta tell you, after I read those prospectuses, I was pretty vexed. In fact, I had put in a sell order for all things YieldMax, and I put it in at a limited order at a certain dollar amount, and I turned everything off and went to bed. It wasn't until I woke up shortly before the market opened the next day, and I said, well, what are you gonna do with the money? Like, you're gonna put it back in your savings account and watch it do absolutely nothing? And basically, I just began to evaluate where I was at in my life's journey and what my goals were and what I was looking to accomplish. And I said to myself, without risk, I'm not going to get where I need to go. And again, after reading the prospectuses and understanding that, especially with MSTY, and you can read that in black and white, and make sure you read all 26 pages, because there is absolutely 21 kinds of risks that you're exposing your finances to. And that does include NAV erosion, because NAV erosion is mentioned and I think fully spelled out in the prospectuses. And after all of these people that I listened to saying, oh, NAV erosion doesn't exist, that's not NAV erosion, then why is it in the prospectus if it doesn't exist, and if it isn't one of the risk factors that your finances are subject to? And as I mentioned, that's a total of 21 different risk factors. And so I thought to myself, I gotta be willing and able to take some form of risk with where I'm at in my particular financial journey. And again, everybody's financial journey is different. Everyone has different goals, different investment styles. And I will say this, if you're getting into high yield income dividend ETFs, they are to generate income and not growth. If you just so happen to get growth, well, that's great. But its main objective is to generate income. And you have to look at it that way, at least in my opinion. So I began thinking, and I was like, okay, let's look at ULTY. Let's check out ULTY. So I kind of just re-reviewed the prospectus again, and I looked at where ULTY was at, and I looked at what it's been doing over the last I would say 5-6 months, and the dividend that has been paying out over the last 5 or 6 months, the NAV. And I said, okay, so if we're going to take a risk, let's take the safest risk possible within these fund type. And I thought that for me was ULTY. being because, it was at the time when I began putting everything into it, and I think I shared this in a previous video. In the 1st of July, I began a commitment over a 7-year time frame of taking my 100% VA payments and putting those solely into my Charles Schwab account, and it was solely just for ULTY. Well, Charles Schwab is a little limited, meaning that you can't really set up a day-to-day kind of, where you can what's the word I'm looking for, where you can invest daily from your checking account, a reoccurring buy. You can't set that up on Charles Schwab, and if you're going to drip, well, you've kind of got to do it manually because there's no wait a minute, let me back up. Yeah, there is a way for them to drip on Charles Schwab, but I don't know, I just wasn't feeling comfortable with it. So I did cash everything out in Charles Schwab and move everything back over to Robinhood. And of course, I'm able to set up my dividend reinvestments. I'm able to set up the daily reinvestments or daily reoccurring buys, and I was more comfortable with that. And I'm just comfortable with how Robinhood's whole website and app is laid out. I find it to be probably more user friendly than TD Ameritrade before it merged with Charles Schwab. But yeah, I definitely like the Robinhood layout so far. I'm not saying it's the best, but it works for me. So again, I moved ULTY over to Robinhood, and I began to continuously invest my monthly VA pay at 100% to ULTY, and do my dividend reinvestments every week once they're declared back into ULTY, as well as set up a daily reoccurring buy into ULTY, and using margin to merely buy dips and take advantage of basically sometimes just rounding up when there's a dividend declared, and that's how I'm working ULTY. Now, for those of you who've seen my previous videos, I was in a number of funds. Well, I went ahead and sold off all of those funds, and yes, I took the hit, which I hope will level out some of the tax burden, but we will see how that works out at the end of the year. But I think it was better to go ahead and take that hit now, or sooner rather than later, because all I was doing was watching the NAV come down. I was watching the dividend distribution come down, and when I read the prospectus and understood that these funds have a limited potential on the upside, meaning they're capped to the upside, but they are not capped to the downside. So you can, you are subject to unlimited amount of the downside of the underlying, but you are capped to the upside. That didn't make any sense to me. Like, why would you cap potential earnings or growth? I don't find that, for me, to be in my best interest. So I went ahead and sold off all of my Yield Max funds, with the exception of ULTY. And I put in pretty much as close to everything as I could into ULTY, and we are growing that on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, and it's a lot less cumbersome, meaning I don't have to necessarily look at the market all day. because ULTY doesn't move like that. So the NAV erosion isn't really that great of a concern because ULTY does not move like that, at least not that we've seen. So why don't we jump into my portfolio, and I will show you where I'm at with my ULTY holdings and speak to it further. Okay, so jumping right in, you see here my total Robinhood portfolio. This is my equity piece, meaning the amount that I have put in as far as dollars from my pocket is $15,197.44. Now keep in mind, I'm doing this video real time as the market is open, so some of these numbers may fluctuate. And as we take a look here, we look at the total market value of my portfolio being $34,378.14. Again, my equity piece of that is $15,195.76, and my total margin used is $19,182.38. So this is what my portfolio is looking like in terms of dollars. Now, if we go to let me see here. If we go to my buying power, which would be up next, you see there that my total buying power is $15,528.40. And I'm at low risk with a portfolio buffer of $3,883.60, which is a 25.51% margin buffer, and I've got a total maintenance requirement of $11,338.53, and yeah, so that's where we sit as far as buying power. Buying power maximum limit, I'm trying to use just a maximum of 75% of my 100% buying power, and I'm currently at 74.56%. And again, that margin buffer is is fluctuating between 25.44 and 25.51%. So that's where we're sitting on the margin buffer. Now, what I'm holding in my portfolio currently are two positions and two positions only. One is my Friday payer, being ULTY, ULTY. The other is my Tuesday payer, being TSLY, as you can see there. So looking into ULTY further, you see that my ULTY position, I have 5,198.427131 shares for a current market value of $29,290.54. My average cost per share is $5.81. So doing real good. Today the portfolio is up $75.36. And of course you can see the maintenance requirements down there. I think somebody had told me that their maintenance requirement was 25%. So I'm going to have to check on Robinhood with that one and make sure I'm looking just like everybody else is. Alright, so up next we have my TSYY position, which is my Tuesday payer. I have 600 shares there with a market value of $5,088 and an average cost of $8.59. And we are up today at, I believe that's $66 there. And that's where we sit on everything. So that's the positions that we hold. Now we'll jump into what everybody's favorite part is. What kind of dividends are we getting? Well, we haven't gotten paid our dividends this week, this current week. I know I have a pending dividend in TSYY for later this evening, but last week's dividends paid out. ULTY, we were paid on 5,101 shares, so we got a dividend payment of $473.38. And then last Tuesday, TSYY, on a 600 shares that I have, I was paid $127.52. So that is our dividend payments for last week, and we look forward to our dividend payments this coming week. As what's today, Tuesday, and we'll have our dividend declaration for ULTY tomorrow. Let me check here real quick, and I can tell you what my dividend payment for TSYY is today, as of course that will happen after hours. But yeah, we've got a dividend payment of $126.07 coming in this evening for TSYY. But yeah, that is what my portfolio is looking at, or looking like. And my plan is to grow my ULTY up to 10,000 shares. I'm projecting that I will be there by December. And then, of course, that if it stays consistently and paying out somewhere between 9 and 10 cents a share, would be between $9 and $1,000 per week. So maximum amount from ULTY would then be $1,000 per week, or $4,000 per month. And the same with TSYY. I want to grow that to also pay $1,000 per week. So that's going to be something that you see grow on a weekly, monthly basis, but we're going to get there. So that is Life of Dividends current portfolio as it sits today, September 9. What is it? What is today? September 16th, 2025. And yeah, we'll try to put together videos as we make progress. I'm not going to promise I'm going to be on this video schedule because my life just does not work like that. Although I do monitor my positions and my portfolio on an hourly, daily basis. Putting together videos is something totally different. So I will do what I can when I can, but just know I am full steam ahead with meeting my goals, and we will do so. So I do want to thank everyone for hanging in there and hanging out with Life of Dividends, and hope everyone's portfolio is doing well as we get through midweek of this week and seeing what the remainder of the week hold for us. As well as with the Fed chair, I guess, speaking sometime tomorrow. So we'll see how that impacts the market. But until then, this is Life of Dividends. Thank you for subscribing, liking, and sharing the channel. And thank you all for being here.